Yes, yes. Innovation is anything that's better than existing things, and also it's new. Nobody has thought about it. You know, there are many cases when, for example, you tell somebody about a new idea, they tell you, how come I didn't think of that? You know, it's so obvious, but nobody has thought about it.
But if this is better than existing, then it's obviously new also, right?
Yes.
Why you put this new then? It's better than existing, then it's new then.
Well, not necessarily. It could be, I mean, there are old things that are better than I mean, there are many ways of creating the same object. Okay. And so there are many different objects that do the same job. One is better than the other for certain applications. So better than the other one is not necessarily enough. It's not necessarily new either. So it has to be actually new. Nobody has ever created that before.
If it's better, then it's newer. I understand this.
Well, okay. If that's what you think, then that's fine.
No, I think I understand this. Actually, if it is something new, but it could be not better than other things that already exist,
no, but
it is not.
I'm not talking about it. I'm talking if something is new, better than existing, then it's new. How it can be not new?
No.
Well, the only thing I can think of is something that's been discarded.
No.
No longer used?
No.
But
anyway,
for instance, there could
that's
be
a counterexample to your point.
a new car that has 1500 horsepower. Then this is new, but this is not conceptually new. It is better than the others, or the consumption is less than the others, but it is not new. It's conceptually not new.
Yeah, I don't think we need to get
It's
caught up in
better,
the semantics.
but it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, now, if your innovation has a good chance of getting a patent for, then obviously that could be considered as an invention. Now, there are many criteria that you have to pass in order for an innovation to be patentable, obviously. So those criteria we're not going through because those are very detailed, but there are other ways of evaluating an innovation and making sure that it is an invention or not. We're going to go over those. If there's a huge market for what you created, it could be as simple as a chair, for example, right? You can invent a new chair, a new design. So the first step of your innovation is having the concept. In your mind, you know exactly what kind of chair you want to invent, right? Now, you can tell somebody that this is the kind of chair I'm going to invent, but that's not enough yet, right? That's the first step. The concept itself is the first step. The second step is now, how do you explain it to people? Which means the second step is the design process. So you have to now create an image of a sort, a presentation of a sort, of your innovation or invention. So you have to design it now. You have to say, for example, it has to have 4 legs, it has to have this height, it is to be made of a certain kind of material, and also you have to define, obviously, what is it going to be used for, whether it's a chair for a kid, or it's a chair for a king, or whatever it is, whatever the application is, you have to define. And so you have to give all these details, and once you have all the details figured out, that is your design. You have now a design that can actually be created. So now what is the third step? Well, the third step then is to make a prototype of it, right? So you have to create a prototype of your chair. And once you create the prototype, everybody now can see and test it, obviously, right? Testing is the key, especially for scientific innovations or inventions. You have to be able to test your product, your invention. Now, once you test it, you collect data, obviously, right? You can now find out how big a person can this chair hold, for example. Or, you know, how long can you use it? How many times? And so on. Whatever is important for the chair, you have to test every single feature of that chair. And you have to collect data. Now, that's not enough. The next step is to compare your data to all the existing data of chairs that are similar. They're not the same, probably. If they're the same chair, it's not new, it's not an invention. But there are chairs, if it's for example, a child's chair, then there are many other children's chairs that have the same more or less features, but then now you have to prove that your chair is better than every other chair that exists. In some respect, doesn't matter what respect. Whether it holds more, whether it lasts longer, whether it's more convenient to carry along, whatever the other features that you want to stress and show. So once you've done that part, so you have done your research, you have collected data, you have compared the data and made sure that yours is better than the others, then that is now an invention. But, of course, now there are steps to make mass production out of your chair and sell it. That's the marketing part and the business part, which we will go over slightly later on. So you have to show the benefit of your chair to everybody, and they have to agree that it has advantages over the existing systems. And then also you have to consider the economic value, how it can be manufactured, ease of manufacturing. There's another aspect of being able to market it. If it gets used up very easily, not that the chair breaks after using it 10 times or not. You know, these are very important features, and so the criteria that were discussed have all to be addressed before you can consider your system to be ready to be launched. Now, I would like to go over some important features through an example. Actually, Professor Gevorkyan here is from the university, from Yerevan State University in the physics department. He has invented an instrument, a measuring device, that senses vibrations. It senses minute nanometer scale vibrations. You all know what a nanometer is, right? It's a 1/1,000,000th of a meter. Now, his invention is in the process of becoming a product. A friend of mine, Levon Toros, is working with Professor Gevorkyan to try to apply that sensor to military applications. For example, if a tank moves behind a mountain, let's say, can you actually sense it on the other side of the mountain? Can you feel the tank moving, and can you identify whether that's a tank or a truck? That kind of information is important. So now the invention is here. It works better than every other invention. In other words, it senses much smaller vibrations. But is that enough to make it into a product? No. That's the next step that they are working on, to make it into a product. Therefore, I will try to show you then what are the steps to do that. The first thing that I would like to stress is the gap in the culture of thinking in Armenia that exists between commercializing a product and inventing a product. The mentality, and I don't know why this mentality seems to be persistent,
because
is that everybody who has an idea, a concept, and has created a theory for it, and maybe has created a certain, some experimentation in a lab, thinks that this is an invention, and therefore it's ready to launch. Well, there's a lot of steps between having something in the lab and being able to create a product that